As we look at the stock market and we look at how we're trading on the day, it's important to look at the Nasdaq 100 and we look at this action that's taking place. So basically right now, despite any downside that we had or anything you're looking at on specific charts, it's been pretty flat on the Nasdaq, okay? Maybe a bull flag, but I wouldn't even consider that type of downside. You're just holding this 15-2 range. Again, what you're looking for before I even go into anything is this test of 15.38 to 15.4 roughly. How you react here will be key. And I do believe the test is coming, giving you just a little bit of a viewpoint, getting that kind of flag back into the 90 MA on the daily, the 4 hour where we're at now, you get that pullback, and you want to see that test coming in. Will happen tomorrow, possibly, but I'll go into why. I am honestly just so strong in the action that we had today. You go into something like SPY, and I think you see a little bit of weakness that's taking place here. Now, what I want to show you real quick, though, is over the weekend, if you don't follow on Twitter, I recommend doing so you can get a better viewpoint of how I'm looking at the market and things along those lines. But when it comes to kind of what's happening there, you know, on Twitter, I'm posting a lot of charts and trying to do as much for you guys as possible. So I always recommend checking it out. You can see all the charts that are here, right? So when you're going into this, though, and we're looking at what's taking place here on SPY the past basically 2 weeks, you know, someone's asking what do I think about SPY, and there's not much I can really say. Every key level, you've either gapped above it and mounted, or you've pushed straight through it. But basically, since the FOMC meeting, it's been a gap above and a gap above these key levels here. So I'm not going to say that you're going to gap above the next level, which is around 438, but I do want to say it looks very good. We even look at the action like on the 1 hour chart here. And now today, what happened? We had a lot of sideways consolidation, you know, back into support, and then we're just bouncing back up. This is what you want to see. Now, to paint a really good picture of this, you can look at the big seven, magnificent seven, whatever you want to call them, right? Apple, very good on the day, very strong. Nvidia, very strong. Google, very strong. Meta, pretty strong. Hit resistance, came back down, but still pretty strong. Microsoft, very strong. The only name that I would say on this list that is scary, or you know, Netflix also very strong coming into 435 like we mentioned. But the only one that I would say is concerning, the only thing I would say, right, Amazon very strong as well, right, is Tesla. Tesla's the only thing that was kind of concerning. But even here, if you took that trade idea from this weekend on Friday, right, we had that support down here at 219, the 200 MA. You shot up to 226 again. Tesla ending the day once again at the 200 SMA, and end of the day too, after hours are kind of pulling back. So I still want to say, we look at equities and look at these names, there's no real pullback here, okay? Now, there's some things we need to talk about that I believe are the signs of when to go long and when we get that breakout and overall what to expect. But before we do that, we need to also consider all possibilities that are out there. So when we're looking at this action, it's important to take everything into account. Basically on the day, since we just kind of ranged at 15.2 all day, there is not too many setups for myself. I mentioned my favorite two basically on Friday. I posted those on Twitter, but obviously I posted those on Discord. And just to let you know, Discord's totally sold out, so there's no one that can join that right now. So I recommend just being on Twitter so you can see any charts and updates there. But it was Amazon and Tesla. Those were the best setups for myself. And a bulk of that movement came early on in the day. Now, it's, again, important to realize protecting the capital, understand when to get in, when to get out. And when we're looking at this action of just trending sideways, you can take a few notes from this. When you're getting pullback on SPY or any type of index, but your major names like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Nvidia, any of those, Netflix, right, are holding up, if not pushing highs, that's a very bullish sign for the market, in my opinion. Now, I will say, again, I'm not pushing into anything here because I'm very conscious of where we're at, right? Coming into, 15.4 Nasdaq. And if we mount that, in my opinion, the Christmas rally is here. We'll probably push until mid-December. I'd be willing to bet very big, a very sizable chunk of my portfolio on that. But it's important to be cautious of where we're at and understanding not getting trapped into these positions because still anything can happen. Now, I don't want to say everything's just all good and beautiful. The one downside of the day was IWM. If we look at IWM here on the 4 hour, again, you gapped up, kind of same trend on Friday. And then today we came in and got rejected and pushed down. This was the only index that really ended red at all. SPY green, Q's green, right? Despite what anyone says. Now, the other area is the dollar. Now, I do want to mention, and I was going over this on Twitter primarily. I don't like to do too much of this on the videos just because it's kind of boring. It's boring stuff. But the dollar and yields are some of the biggest indicators or clues if we're going to get upside or downside in the market. You know, if we see yields in the dollar going up, then that's a downside indicator on the market or a risk off mentality. Now, today we had a little bit of a bounce during trading hours, but it's important to realize what happened back down here was with Japan's monetary policy and them talking about raising rates there. And to give you the overall breakdown for, basically, DXY for dummies, when the yen gains value against the dollar, so USD JPY going down, typically the market is bullish. Okay, it's a risk on versus risk off indicator. Okay, so when the Japanese market and the Japanese dollar is doing good compared to the dollar, typically we move good. Okay, that's just an overall indicator. Now, even though yesterday the yen had a policy change, right, and they're talking about raising rates, raising interest, and we saw, what happened to the dollar, right? The dollar got destroyed. So we're seeing a little bit of a pullback to the upside here. But I want to highlight where you're at here on the dollar as well. And I post this on Twitter. You've already broken your major levels. 15.6, 105.6, 105.8. Those levels are gone. Oil, you pushed back again. We went over this past few days. You came right back into 82, 83, rejected back down. So clear weakness, and you're targeting the 200 SMA here. Now, before we go any further, I ask you to do two things. Consider liking and subscribing. It helps out tons. I appreciate all the support. Again, there's no links. The link to Discord is down below, so if a spot opens up, you might be able to take it, but there should be nothing there. And if you're also looking at our charts and looking at what we're doing here, you're seeing some of these volume levels coming in, and you're looking at our volume indicator that we have down here. And this is primarily just for day trading for me when I use this one to see buyers versus sellers. This is our chart prime indicator in the package that we're doing with them right now. The link for that is down below. They will be having a sale coming up, but right now you can check them out for 30% off your first month. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a cheat sheet and everything going on. So check them out as well. So that's what we're looking at here. And I wanted to get that out of the way so you guys can see. So yields got a little bit of a bounce. The 5-year, 10-year, they all got a little bit of a bounce, right? But be tracking the DXY. I do expect more downside. Personal opinion there. Okay. The rest, right? Let's keep going. All right, it's chart prime drawing the wedge that's kind of playing out here. In my opinion, VIX giving a very good instance of what's happening. Yet a lot of people having shorts that, in my opinion, started closing on the options market there with the SPX. Obviously getting out, dropping back down quickly into that $14, $13 level, which is where we trended, essentially pushing into those local highs on the year. Things you should be considering as we're moving back in to this area right now. This happened back here in May into June when we broke out to the upside. Think about it. Okay, warning signs that are taking place here. Going back into SPY though, if we look here, and I'm just going to delete some of this so it looks a little bit cleaner for you so we can keep it as clean as possible. We'll delete some of these bottom levels as well since we're not there anymore. When we look at what's happening here on SPY, let's clean this up as well so you can see. Okay. If we look at how you're moving and what's taking place, and you're going to see it really clearly on the Nasdaq too. In my opinion, it's kind of like a flag, right? Just like a flag here on the past month and a half, 2 months. Just the reality of it, with a false breakout to the downside now. Now, again, what are you looking for confirmation? To break and hold above 438. Now we go to the Nasdaq. Again, very similar structure, if not better. We look here on the 4-hour time frame here. As you can see, right to the 200 SMA, bouncing and holding and pushing back up. Again, you want to see a mount above 15.4. So I can only say that so much before you can get very bullish. And so as you creep into this level, I get less and less bullish because I'm just waiting to see how we react to that level. And you can't trade when you're this close to the range or at the top of the range. So look at that there. Now, I do want to spend more of this video going over potential setups because I can't cover too much more on indexes, right? I'd be just repeating the same stuff. So I want to make sure that's really clear. Okay, so let's go over plays that I'm liking. Number one, obviously, Tesla is still my baby boy. Looks very good. Looks very clean. Okay. So when I'm looking at Tesla, I'm going to tell you this very simply, and so you'll be able to understand. This level now moves up to about right here, but there's a key level right here, like 218 as well. Okay. You want to mount the 200. If you're above the 200 SMA, you're bullish. Below it, I'm not looking for upside, right? Below it, I have no interest. Okay. So understand that. What we saw from Friday into today's open, a clear shot into 226. So like Tesla over that level, I do believe you have potential to fill that gap of 240, 242, whatever it may be. Microsoft. Now, I'm not looking to go long on Microsoft anymore because you already have all those great setups. Number one was a mount above 341, then it was 351. After that, I mean, in my opinion, you're pushing into all-time highs. I don't know what the trade here is anymore. Okay, so Microsoft very strong, but it will lead into other ideas and what's happening with the rest of the market. Okay, now I do want to cover one thing here too. NVIDIA, AVGO. I think semiconductors are now becoming your best opportunity in the short term. And I posted this on Twitter, so everyone had the update, I had the idea here. Okay, on Twitter today, 2 hours ago, I believe during market hours, 2:42, 20 minutes before market closed. What did we say here? You're mounting the key level 873, 874, which we mentioned here time and time again. This is a bullish structure if I've ever seen one. You're trying to mount, you're trying to hold. So if we get that follow through on SPY and Qs, I think AVGO will push back into its all-time highs here of 910, 920, right? Very similar structure to what we saw when we pushed up last time. Again, right here. So you can see this all-time highs up here. We've hit this multiple times, okay? Once you mount to this level here, you basically got there in a day. Worth mentioning, worth watching. So you're getting back to that level, showing a lot of momentum and strength, okay? Contracts that I'm liking here, okay? What I'd be looking for, AVGO. Again, this is Options AI. The link is down below. Only broker I trust on this channel to be sponsored by, right? Generating some bullish trades here. Again, I'm going to tell you right now, honestly, the debits call spreads are pretty juicy. I'm not going to lie to you. Very good opportunity with what you can do here, especially with how AVGO moves, because it is a lot more volatile than all these other names. Now with AVGO, there's something different here that I will say. I'm going to tell you right now, I like AVGO more out of the money, which is kind of not what I usually do. Okay. Traditionally, when I'm looking at them or, calls, a month and a half out, I like closer to the end of the money. Telling you here, AVGO, because of the volatility, you have to go further dated. Minimum is 900. I think 920 makes sense as well, but it's up to you with how you want to trade this. If you want to go the call spread, you can do closer to the money, obviously, like we mentioned in the beginning, but be checking out these contracts. I'm telling you, AVGO has real potential. I'll keep you guys updated there. Going into further, Apple. Apple is a shocker. Now, we mentioned this from Apple's earnings, okay? We said we knew their earnings were going to go bad. We knew they were going to drop. They dropped. But what was the level we mentioned over and over? The King Leonidas holding the line level, right? 174. And you continue to hold this level. At that level or above it, you are bullish. And what happened here? We broke over local highs of 177, 178. And now we're back at the top of this range here, okay? You zoom out and you can see the top of this range and how we've kind of, struggled here basically from 182 to like 183 roughly. So again, Apple, I think you have room for a day trade back into 182, 183, but be careful once you get there. If you break above 183, you're really bullish, and I think you have a lot of upside. And you're looking at this as that structure, and it reminds you a lot of the Nasdaq. It reminds you a lot of what's happening with the S&P, right? Apple breaks out, things will get interesting. So be watching that local high of 182, 183, because this could start moving like crazy as well. Okay. Again, you got to keep this on your radar, guys. I can only tell you so many times. Again, Chart Prime 2 will show you these levels as well. You can see clear sellers coming in. This is already a level I had marked, but you can see breaking the wedge as well. So good structure, good play out there. The last thing I'm going to mention, today's video a little bit shorter. I'm sorry, guys. Got to give it to you like this. AMD. Okay, AMD, one of the cleanest, one of the best structures that's playing out right now. You had the channel to the downside. You've got the false breakdown under the 200. You got back above it. Now on AMD, what you're looking for, and you're kind of getting above it already, like basically 112. If you can hold 112, I believe there's a high possibility you're pushing into 117, 120. In my opinion, semiconductors are the best overall sector in the market, or they look the best. You've seen every semiconductor company beat, and I think the trend will continue going into NVIDIA earnings. So I like the upside until this kind of fails, and you haven't failed in a while. So I like AMD a lot. Over 112, you're looking for 116.5, 117, and then ultimately 121, 122 up here at these levels. You have a few levels where sellers are at. You can see here and here, but you mounted this one right now, and you can see a really good daily candle forming out there. AMD contracts here as well makes sense. Again, obviously, I just gives it to you in a very clean way of looking at these trades, right? So trade AMD, going for bullish. bullish levels here going for December 15th. You're gonna notice the same trend for myself. Again, I'm not a huge debit call spread here. I'm not a spread guy on this one. I think you're just trading it, right? And you can go in the money already at 110. It's beautiful. I love the way you're moving. I like they're not expensive. They're really not that bad. That's what I like. That's what I'd be looking at. If you have questions, comment down below. Before I let you out of here, I'm just gonna give you some closing thoughts. And if you're done and you're like, I'm ready to leave, hey, hit that subscribe button and get out of here. Okay. Now, when you're looking at this movement, I can only say this so many times. You gotta be careful. You do have to be careful because 15.4 is there once again on Nasdaq. And I've said it so many times. It's a massive resistance. It's not going to be easy. But once that breaks, you're looking at clear cut upside. It's like when we broke 4,200, 4,300 on ES back in like March and April, right? It was clear cut upside. It was rocket. It was jet fuel. It was easy money. The same thing goes for this level, but it's going to be tough until we get that break and hold. I think the dollar and yields are your best friend when it comes to identifying early signs of upside. I also think it's important to be watching the big seven, the major names in the market and tech that's led us to where we're at now. Some people want to discount those names as being the only names that are green on the year. I want to tell you right now, stop trying to break the trend and what's got us here and start trying to follow and adapt to that trend. Everyone here gets upset. They're saying this is manipulated, it's this, it's that. I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to complain and you want to, play victim, go ahead. That's your game. Do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, no one cares. I don't care. All the viewers here could care less about your complaints. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is making money in the market. You have to be able to disconnect yourself from your bias, your personal beliefs, and everything else in between. That's my view. That's how I've survived in this market. And that's ultimately how this channel is built and what it's built around, is making money in the market no matter what. That's why you come to the channel. That's why we'll be back tomorrow. And that's why we'll be back the next day after that. Have a good one, traders. Good luck trading. And I really hope we break 15.4 soon.